So I lost my passion for YouTube and I'm on the borderline of actually quitting it altogether. But first of all, coffee cheers, bam. All right, so I'm going to be very real with you. My YouTube channel is dying. Our growth for subscribers, new viewers have not flatlined. We're still growing a bit, but we definitely have not been as profitable on the AdSense side or new viewers that are coming to the channel. And the reason why, it's probably not what you and I would typically think. There are things with the older YouTube channel that no one really talks about. And for quite a while now, I felt like there was something wrong with this channel. Like maybe it was the content or delivery. Maybe we're not making really good videos. So I kind of stripped down everything again. I bought an OG like 90D. I actually had a T5i when I first started this channel. And I'm just keeping things very basic. All in hopes of trying to figure out what exactly is wrong with my content and just figure out why. Man, it's even happening to me right now. I have this inner voice in my head which is always critiquing and always being like, oh, I should redo this, I should optimize this, when YouTube never actually felt like this for me. Anyways, before we kind of go into like why exactly my channel's dying, let's go into kind of like why I lost passion for this channel. And I think when I was a lot younger, I used to look at views or metrics. I would get a lot of my sense of validation that I'm doing really well because of this. But then if we look at like social media now with like these like viral prank channels or these like entertainment channels, they get tons of views. But even if I had those views or those viewers, I wouldn't be happy because that's not the audience I'm trying to create. I think everything kind of came crashing down for me kind of recently when I realized like, oh, the analytics aren't there, so why am I doing this in the first place? Even to make things worse, I just wasn't having fun anymore. It was like I was going through all the motions of scripting, doing all these things, but it just didn't feel like me. And that's the whole thing why I wanted to do YouTube, why I used to do these. Like, this is very reminiscent of back when I lived in the YouTube house with Joe from JK, Can, and all that, and was just talking to camera, just getting like very comfortable with it. And this is kind of the YouTube I miss and kind of the YouTube that I've seen like people like Vanessa, Lau, and all these other people kind of bring back. So they're like very lo-fi, very like reminiscent of early days of YouTube where it's just like a relationship and a camera. And when I was kind of reflecting on the videos I was making, I just realized like when I think about YouTube now or just even recording a video, they just drain the life out of me. I think you can tell that I kind of hate the process. I just hated the way I presented myself on camera because I was this like serious, like permanent sad boy / ClickFunnels guru type of esque, but not ClickFunnels guru-y. The content I was creating wasn't the actual content that I personally watch. I mean, for me, I watch a lot of like podcasts. I listen to like, you know, more unedited videos, and I love tech reviews too. And that kind of really inspired, like, and I watch vlogs. Vlogs are really reminiscent. Maybe I'm just a boomer. That is the content I watch. And when I watched my content, it seemed like I was trying to be this like online guru, which I'm not really. Like, and honestly, I've always really struggled kind of talking about one thing. And I realized like I just want a personal channel where I just highlight the things that I love. I love personal development. I love books. I love jujitsu. Got my purple belt recently, which is pretty sick. I love all these things. And I just want a place for all of it to live and just make more friends that way. And so when YouTube was starting to become draining for me and like I was having an editing team and all that, I just hated the process. And that's not a very sustainable way to like grow a YouTube channel if you hate your own content, right? And so I think a part of like the process that I really hated was I wasn't showing up as my real self anymore. Kind of like how I am right now. Like I'm just kind of leaving my unedited thoughts and just like spewing everything out. And that's why I want to do these type of videos again, because I miss this side of Kevin quite a bit. I miss the side of like just riffing. And I've kind of, I don't want to say I've lost the ability, but I definitely edit my inner thoughts all the time. So in short, I was kind of like hating who I was on camera. I was hating the content I was creating, and that's not sustainable. And if you are watching this video, I also have to talk about something really important too. If you came from my pharmacy videos, I'm really sorry. I think things have changed a lot for me over time. And even for the people who came from investing or maybe one of my product reviews, maybe even high ticket closing and just want to see like more of those, you have to realize as a creator, I've kind of evolved over time too. And I think the evolution of this person that was hating on camera, it wasn't that it wasn't me, but when I look back at that content, like even the recent video, semi-recent video when I was breaking down my business models and stuff, that's sort of stuff I wanted to know like when I was 25, maybe early 30s. But these days it's like, I'm not really into beginner content like that, even though there's a huge market for it. And maybe that's just not the content I want to do. And I think that's totally legit, especially if I'm willing to pay the consequences of like not having tons of views anymore. You know, but I definitely do feel like if I look at Hormozy or all these other people, there definitely is a market for this. And by the way, if you see me looking to the left, I'm just like looking at my notes. I wrote like bullet points rather than full scripting. So there's that. I was watching Vanessa's video on her, like, I have her notebook somewhere. Found my section of Vanessa's content that I really love. She says, create content who captures who you are in this moment of time. And when I think about it, I think I have a lot of content of my past, a lot of content when I was in my sad boy era, some of the content while I was building a business, but I need to like focus on things that really light me up. And right now it's just like, I really love learning new things and sharing it with you guys. I really love learning the lessons behind like scaling a business, not like starting a business, but scaling a business to like 7-8 figures. And I love like kind of this new spiritual arc that I'm kind of going on too. I haven't talked about it too much, and I did not do psychedelics or ayahuasca, by the way, to obtain this. I don't think you need that. That'll be for another video. To be honest, I really hated the thought of having to like produce a single piece of content for the rest of my career. I don't know why I extrapolated it out. Honestly, I just hated that thought of like people subscribing for a certain type of content and being expected to have that certain type of content for the rest of my life. What I learned from that is like when I stopped doing pharmacy content, when I stopped doing so much like high ticket sales content, people just like stopped showing up and they just left. And I think that's okay. Like, I feel like with a lot of my friendships in life, that's happened too. As soon as I couldn't provide them value, they just left. I think on one hand, it's like, oh, the views. But then also on the other hand, it's like, yo, I want a real relationship. I don't want this transactional like type of relationship. If I can help you, great. At the end of the day, this has to be like very sustainable for me. And I'm trying to build a personal brand and just like make more friends on the internet. Does that sound weird, by the way? I know with this like kind of new mindset of focusing on more relational content versus like transactional like content, it's gonna push people away. People don't want to get to know me. They're like, who the are you? And I can tell them what I do, right? Like my friend was like, yeah, I know you know Ali Abdal, I know you know Chris Do, I know you know Vanessa, I know you know all these different people. But the reason why I'm friends with you is because I like you, for who you are, not what you can do for me. And bro, that hit home, especially from someone who has always felt like transactionalized throughout my whole life. That hit so hard for me. I don't know, I've kind of come to terms that maybe some of my content isn't gonna get the most views. I'm not like an Alex Hormozy or anything like that. But the truth is, like, at the end of the day, we all die, right? And not everyone's gonna stick with you at your funeral. Not everyone's gonna stick with you as you evolve. And I think as a part of getting older, I've come to terms with that and I've accepted that it's okay. And if I do get views from it, that's great too. And this leads me into the next thing. With this new arc I'm doing on YouTube, which is like a lot less production quality and more story-based and more like videos from your best friend who just happens to be like a personal development addict and like loves business. But as part of this, I want to kind of show my off-camera personality and just like whatever comes into me, just speak it into camera. A lot of you guys don't know this, but off camera, I joke around a lot. I try not to take myself too seriously, honestly. And it could be that I'm not depressed anymore, man. That could be a really, really great sign of that too. But like I mentioned before, you know, when I look at my older videos, and it didn't hit me until like actually my recent mastermind session. If you don't know, I actually host a YouTube mastermind, not pitching it by the way, or anything like that. It's not even open, by the way. So even if you go to my website, there's a wait list and stuff. Subtle plug, I guess. But one of the things that was so profound for me was like, I was just talking and I was just like, honestly, I hate my content. I feel burnt out. I feel like this voice in my head that is always telling me like, you need to adjust the camera. You need to make sure that your camera's leveled. You need to make sure that you have 2 angles and stuff. You know, like this all with your head so much. My friends, my clients on the mastermind call was like, you know, Kevin, how you are in real life or online is like not how you are on like YouTube and stuff. And it really hit me because I actually said this to Vanessa Lau of all people. Like when I went to her mastermind, I was like, dog, you are so much cooler in real life than in your videos. Because I never really liked her like listicle content or anything like that. I kind of like her new arc right now. It's like really sick. But like back then, I wasn't a big fan of it. Something I just realized was like the version of me wasn't like who you're seeing wasn't even me anymore. It was like myself, like when I was like 32 or like in my young 30s, right? And it was just like a different version of who I was, who I thought I needed to be for the channel, but who I really need to be is like this version of me right now, if that makes sense. And so I think one of the realizations I kind of had over these last few weeks, I've been doing the morning pages from The Artist's Way, which is somewhere in this room. You can't tell, but I have like 4 bookcases here. But I just had to stop like pretending being this person that I wasn't, or not pretending, but I had to stop being the person I was in my early 30s and 20s and be the person who I am now. And to be able to do that, I had to take the YouTube ayahuasca, I guess, and just strip everything back, right? And just create for myself again. And so that's why moving forward, I just want to create content that feels like really true to me in this moment that I feel like needs to be in this world. I think like when you are the sole person in the YouTube channel, you feel this need to like do research and create what's viral. And that is very, very important. I think it's actually very important to have a portfolio of content versus like every video needs to be a banger, which was what I was doing, right? And I think like more these days, I'm thinking about sustainability of creating like, how do I create community content, right? Like for us, like right now. How do I create more discoverable content, right? Like where it will attract cold audiences, and how do I create more, I don't want to call it sales content because like sales content on YouTube is very rarely direct to offer. It's like, oh, like sign up for my email newsletter where we can actually talk. You can submit questions and stuff, or Instagram. It's like off platform type of thing. And how do I create this like new formats and things that I really like? And that's why I got so inspired by like Vanessa, honestly, because she's just really great at it. I love her new format. I think it's really, really sick how she's just stripped down everything and it feels like you're talking to a real friend. And that's what I want for this channel. Oh, by the way, next part, speaking about analytics, bro. I got really obsessed with analytics and perfectionism and crafting hooks. I wasn't even like that great. It's like, not to say I'm not good at those things, but when you're like all in your head and you're the sole person doing it all the time, it gets really draining. Of course, like I've hired people like my thumbnail designer, I've hired people like my video editors and stuff like that, which is really, really cool because they kind of check me. But then I would obsess with the analytics, and it got to a point where we weren't even getting that many impressions, and I would just be like, oh no, we got 1 extra impression or 1 extra view and dropped the CTR by like 3%. I must be doing bad, right? Like it sucks. This is like what goes on in my head, honestly. I felt like at this time I was just like chasing numbers instead of creating the stuff that I actually love to watch, which is like, honestly, that's what all these metrics are for. It's to make sure that you have good engaging content that resonates with your audience. I remember this point where I got so into CTR retention and trying to see what other YouTubers are doing that I lost touch with like, oh, what is the unique viewer experience that I provide to my audience, to people watching me, where they don't get like a watered down Vanessa Lau or watered down Chris Do or broke Hormozy, like not broke, but like Hormozy has way more money than me, right? Like how do I provide a Kevin Yee experience? And that's something I haven't really thought about. And then I think about like this type of content where I used to, you know, back in when I lived at the YouTube house, I'd just wake up and just shoot whatever was on my mind. I didn't think about packaging or anything like that. Not to say I can't do that. Like I'm trying to outsource that to my thumbnail designer who does like outlier research. But I've realized like if I'm going to be on camera, I need to have fun, and really good content always comes from having fun, not chasing metrics, because you know, we focus so much on like what to say to the camera where we really forget like, oh, there are implicit things like the energy of it. And I think simplifying everything down, like I love things like vlogging, I love doing talking head vlogs, but sometimes when I'm out in public, I'm just like, oh my God, I'm thinking about this, I'm thinking about that. I'm like being on the camera, but I'm also being like a producer at the same time, which is really weird. And since I don't really have producer experience, I'm probably not that good, honestly. But what I am probably amazing at is just like being myself, being able to talk about things that are very interesting. I'm a conversationalist. Like I can chop it up with anyone. Like, dude, I don't want to be those cringe pickup people, but like, bro, like one of my favorite things to do is just talk to people at coffee shops and talk about things that actually like I'm really interested in and curious about, and ask people. Like it's a dialogue and stuff. And I want to share more of that. Like I want to bring more of my friends on this channel and just have like chill talks like we are right now. I also want to like kind of share the stuff that I'm really going through, learning, and some of the stuff I feel like insecure. Honestly, I have a video coming out. I wrote this down. Things I still feel insecure about in my 30s. Dude, that's going to be like trauma dumping, but I think that's okay sometimes. That's another thing I think I lost with the essence of this channel, is like really sharing my vulnerability without oversharing too, right? Like I think that vulnerability, like one of my good buddies, Mike Kim, he's a branding guy. He's in my mastermind, I'm in his, but he always tells me, Kevin, one of your strengths is like the vulnerability. And I realized during this transition of like building my business, there's so many things that I was so insecure about. Like, for example, like there was a period when I was clientless, where I burned through most of my savings, and I was like, oh my God, I am such a failure. And I was extrapolating all this external to my self-identity, which doesn't mean. Just to give you context, later that year, I started making like, or not, I don't want to say later that year, I'm lying a bit, I'm embellishing. I have that tendency to do that. I'm trying to be more self-aware about that. But for example, just like a year later, like I've been pulling in anywhere from $1,000 to $3,000 per day in this season right now. Will it always be like that? Hell no. But I think like I haven't changed that much from that person to now. But I think people need to know like what I'm kind of going through. Also, at the same time, I don't want to trauma dump and try to like change the vibe of the channel and be so depressing all the time or so serious. There's a line, and I think that's why like doing things like therapy has really helped me, because it's given me an outlet to kind of like vent. I don't want to call it venting, but to process the emotions, to emotionally regulate. I started doing morning pages with this like expensive notebook. I paid like $30 for this notebook, man. I would have never done that, but it's so worth it because it's actually inspiring the video that you're seeing right now. So yeah, I want to share a lot. And I think in the past too, like with the people I loved, like my ex and stuff like that, I used to have so much trouble saying that I love certain people and stuff. But the truth was, I did love my ex back in the day in LA. But whenever we got into a fight or anything like that, this is like when I was like 28, 29, 30. I was like pretty young, but I would just like vent out to the internet, and I don't think that's right. And I think there's like certain boundaries that I'm trying to kind of see with like YouTube and all that. As I'm trying to create more content and trying to not be so perfect all the time, I want to share a lot more. I just need to figure out like, hey, what are the boundaries? And I think there's a good like saying where it's like, hey, if you haven't really processed it yet, don't like publish it. Doesn't mean I can't record it like in the whim, but it means like I don't want to overshare everything, especially if I haven't kind of gone through it sometimes. Well, maybe I will try. Who knows? You guys can help me there. And I think another thing too is like something that no one really also talks about as you become more of an experienced YouTuber is like, as you take these courses, as you learn more about YouTube, you just get so stuck with analysis paralysis, and you get so caught up in your head that you don't really create anything, just like how I haven't. Like honestly, I'm looking at my channel, I don't think I've created anything in like 5 weeks. This is like what, dude, it's September 5th. My last video was in like July, which is crazy because we had tons of batch content and all that, but we didn't create anything. Well, it's also my team was like really bogged down with stuff, because I think at the end of the day, my responsibility, I don't want to say like my fault, I'm still trying to figure out things, so there's that. But I think since I keep on trying to change things and make things very complicated, it just like bogged down the team. And because we weren't creating anything, it would create this anxiety where I'm like, oh, I'm not getting the views that I want. And I would try to perfect every piece of content so it would be like perfect. But honestly, at the end of the day, the content didn't even perform because it wasn't even really me. I think people can tell. And if you're one of those people, feel free to drop in the comments. Like, I'm totally down for that. But I kept on falling this trap of like perfectionism. And it's something I've just been working on like continuously throughout all my life. Thanks, Dad, for putting your PTSD bullshit and being avoidant in my life. And no, I love my dad. On the real though, like that's why I've been so mindful about like, mental health and being aware of my tendencies and stuff. And I think that's at the end of the day what things like, bro, people talk about therapy and like you have to get therapy. I love therapy, by the way, but at the end of the day, I also don't think like people have to go through therapy. There are so many modalities, and just because one modality worked for you doesn't mean it'll work for everyone. This drives me crazy, dog. Anyways, back to perfectionism. I think like the way around that is just having fun and just also realizing the more content I create like this, the more data I'll get. And so the more ambitious like projects I can do. I want this to be a core like foundation for my channel again, because this was a core foundation of my old like YouTube days, my YouTube startup days and stuff like that. And then I want to do other things. Like I want to drop like free courses for you guys. I want to do like documentary type of things, right? Like where they follow you around and stuff. I'll always be experimenting, but I think something like this is kind of like my morning pages for video, where I can just talk about things, and I'll do my best to stay on topic. That's one thing I'm really working on. In the creator world, it's not so forgiving. So let's talk about the last thing. So you might be asking, yo, what is the future of your YouTube channel? What are you going to do now? To be honest, I'm still figuring it out. I just want to enjoy creating again. I want to be able to speak to the camera and feel like speaking to you guys and be natural again. Even this video, I was like really struggling in the beginning, but I'm finding my flow right now, like with my thoughts. And I just want to kind of enjoy creating again. I want to be a better storyteller. Vanessa came up with this really great term. She calls it creator goals versus metric-based goals. And I thought that was so smart. And so these days, I just want to be as present as I can on camera and just let my editing team and all of them do the rest, cut out the boring parts and stuff, you know? But the main thing is I don't want to chase views anymore. I don't want to chase money anymore. I don't want to do it also for just a selfish perspective, because I could just do this all day. I think one of the really cool things about YouTube is being able to leave a legacy. Vanessa does something really important where she creates videos for her future grandchildren. I want a family too. I just don't have a girlfriend. So I want to create videos that will really help people. I used to say I want to create business advice from your best friend, but at the end of the day, I want to create videos from your best friend obsessed with like business and personal development. It doesn't have the same ring. Still try and work on the branding. If you got anything, like please let me know. But like I want these videos to feel like it's coming from your really good friend, you know? And so if I can make a difference, like even after I'm gone, like I've been listening to this guy, Charles Poliquin, so inspiring. He was an Olympic trainer, and he actually always talked about legacy, leaving the world better than you initially left it. He was the type of guy who donated 10% toward of all his like profit or revenue. I don't know like the behind the scenes. He's dead now, by the way, but he donated like 10% to child sex trafficking. So he would have this powerful statement when he was like, when you take a seminar with me, you take a child away from prostitution. And he would also joke like I am right now, but like it is like so inspiring. And even though he's gone now, he still serves as an inspiration for me to this day, even after he's gone. And I want to do the same thing. I want to talk about the timeless things that all of us humans go through. There's this like classic book. I think I have, oh yeah. It's like Meditations by Marcus Aurelius and stuff. And like when I read the Stoics, they were going through the same shit that we were today, you know, very similar. And so I want to go over the timeless things and just give a fresh new perspective on it, especially to Asian community and stuff, because not a lot of us business Asian people out there. There are, but a lot of them are kind of ClickFunnels guru. Finally, the last point I want to make that I've kind of learned on my like 10 years on YouTube, I think, is that sure, you can have views, you can have money, you can have like the subscribers who say they love you, but honestly, like you just never know. In 5 years, like I've had people say that, oh, I love your content, Kevin, but are they here 5 years from now? No, it doesn't mean that they'll grow with your future you. But what I realized is like, if I'm not currently loving what I'm doing right now, then what is the point? There is no sustainability in this model if I burn out. Anyways, if you made it this far, I just want to say thank you. Seriously, I really, really appreciate you, especially if you are an OG, because chances are, if you kind of watch my videos even through my dark ages, I'm really excited to see what's going to be like in this new era. Will this channel be off to the moon? Maybe. I hope so. But like, I also think like, oh yeah, I'm really excited to see what this new era brings. And even if it is not that great, I'm okay with it too. So yeah, probably will spend a lot of time speaking to my therapist or creator coach. I actually signed up for Healthy Gamer GG. It's technically not therapy, it's like mental health coaching, but still pretty solid. Anyways, if you made it this far, I want to ask you a question. I'll just do one off the top of my head. What's the reason why you stayed on this channel? And what's the reason why you continue watching these videos? I love to hear from you. This is where I should probably do a transition into another video. But if you're very curious, I am going to do a video on like what I learned from my failed YouTube channel of 10 years. You can check out that video so that you don't make the same mistakes on your YouTube channel. If you don't like that video, here is another video that the YouTube algo thinks that you'll love too. And of course, if you want to stay connected, sign up for my newsletter, link below. That's 3 CTAs against the whole YouTube thing. I don't care. I just want to keep things simple, dog. All right, I gotta go jujitsu. I love you guys. I'll talk to you guys later. Peace, mother people.